Apparently, things were much simpler than imagined. The first prince had eliminated the person in his way, the third prince. After learning all this, the third prince wisely decided to act like a loafer. This was to avoid the brunt of the attention. She couldn't help but wonder what happened to the second prince. He never even appeared in the original story. Noticing the worried look on the young woman's face, Orcus anxiously asked if she was all right. He told the countess not to worry too much, as the first prince couldn't touch her. Serafina was the empress's favorite, and the first prince would most likely try to win her over. The hero decided on a change of scenery, and Serafina suddenly announced that she wanted to give Orcus an amazing gift. In reality, she wanted to use the money from the divine treasury, but that would be too late. On second thought, the advance payment was basically her money anyway. Since that was the case, Orcus decided to pick something very expensive. Sarah said with a triumphant smile that as the empress's favorite, she could do as she pleased. The man replied that her financial power was indeed very attractive, so whatever the countess bought, he would accept it. Just then, the door of the small jewelry shop was pushed open, and the first prince appeared with Lily. Trips's purpose was to buy the lady everything she wanted. Sarah cursed under her breath, as she was sure today was supposed to be her day, but the first prince had suddenly shown up. Orcus immediately bowed to greet His Highness, the first prince of the empire. Trips responded that it was a surprise to meet an acquaintance in a place like this. He then placed his hand on Lily's shoulder and proudly announced that she was a distinguished guest who had recently arrived at the imperial palace. Lily was instantly embarrassed, as she knew he was Lady Fiona's brother. She immediately bowed, gushing about her long-held admiration for Lady Felicia. Orcus simply replied flatly that it was an honor to meet her. The girl continued, saying that even when she was in the Albiol territory, she had heard of her deeds and accomplishments. The prince glared at the short-haired girl who hadn't shown him proper courtesy and questioned who she was. A smirk flashed across the protagonist's face, and then she suddenly started coughing violently. She greeted the first prince and explained that she was unwell, which was why she had been so rude. Trips instantly realized that this was the winner of the forced succession trial and the lord of that godforsaken land. Lily immediately rushed to the countess's side to support her. The first prince realized her relationship with Orcus was quite close. This puzzled him. It turned out the rumors were false, as the relationship between these two was far more than just business partners. Trips had hoped this woman would be worth winning over, but this was completely unexpected. Orcus suddenly asked the first prince to pick some suitable earrings for his beautiful sister. He then explained that Countess Validus wanted to express her gratitude for the assistance in developing the gem mine. Neither her brother nor the countess knew Fiona's taste, so the man asked the first prince to make the choice. Trips unhesitatingly pointed to a large, sparkling gem. He felt the stone suited Fiona's powerful aura. He then told Lily to leave and browse other shops, as the selection here was truly terrible. The shop door slammed shut, and Serafina smiled at her companion. They decided to pick out some rings to confuse the first prince, acting as if they were dating. So they left the shop arm in arm, having completed their purchase. Our protagonist had never expected to see those two there. She even began to doubt herself, but Orcus confirmed that if she was thinking of the scene where the first prince was being unfaithful, she wasn't mistaken. But it seemed the white mage wasn't reciprocating the affection. She looked more like she was being kept there against her will. The protagonist agreed in her heart, and this was the very mistake that made the original story a mess, because honestly, Lily didn't love the first prince. Serafina admitted to her business partner that she felt the same way. So when the blonde girl ran up to her, she went with the flow and asked if the girl truly wanted to study magic under Lady Felicia. If this desire was sincere, the countess was willing to give the young lady a chance to do things her own way. This meant Serafina helped the white mage enter the magic tower. Felicia opened the gift from the first prince and immediately said she hated the color. A few days later, Serafina received a letter from Looney, inviting her to the opening ceremony of her new shop. The young lady wrote that she would be greatly honored if the countess could attend, and they could have a wonderful time together. As soon as our girl appeared there, she ran into Count Mars. She was taken aback and frowned, not even noticing Looney. But the girl was standing right behind her father, who exclaimed that he couldn't possibly miss such a grand event. Looney giggled softly, and now our protagonist understood what was going on. Serafina owed the young lady a lot, so she told the Count that he had a very outstanding and talented daughter. The man replied that thanks to his youngest daughter's amazing luck, he was fortunate enough to have such an important meeting with the Countess. The child had been stubbornly saying she wanted her own shop since she was little, and the thought of it gave the Count a headache. Fortunately, Looney was all grown up and was also going to marry a rich man, so the father was overjoyed. The Count simply requested that his daughter please stop causing accidents around his business. But Looney immediately swore it wasn't her. Serafina gave a sweet smile and told the Count he was a wonderful father, while thinking to herself, why are all the fathers here like this? Before leaving, Looney's father waved goodbye. His daughter immediately began to apologize to the Countess for making her witness such an awkward scene. Fiona used to say the same thing, so her girl retorted, we all know who's more embarrassing. Looney cheered up and invited the lady inside. It turned out the girl's business targeted single women of high society. Her main products were tasteful home decorations. You could say the whole shop was a showroom. But Looney also sold many other things, and from sourcing to stocking, she personally inspected every single item. It was outrageous to treat such a serious matter as child's play. So Sarah bluntly said that Looney's father had terrible taste. The young lady immediately grabbed Sarah's hand and happily replied that the Countess was the first person to tell her that, except for Carl and Fiona, who had said so a long time ago. Looney explained that she had two older brothers fighting over the inheritance, and she wasn't involved at all. But she had a good head for business, probably because she grew up watching her family's business, and she knew she had talent for it. They had originally promised to give this shopping center to Looney, but then they suddenly went back on their word, deciding to sell it and add the money to her dowry. Honestly, the girl even suspected they were responsible for the fire at her brother's house. The protagonist was stunned, realizing the young lady actually suspected her own family. Because of that fire a few months ago, the building's entire exterior wall was damaged. The repair work had started, and Looney couldn't give the Countess a tour. When she told her relatives about the fire, they just told her to use this opportunity to start preparing for her marriage. From then on, Looney began to suspect that someone in her family had set the fire to take all this away from her. Suddenly, everyone seemed suspicious, and she felt it would be difficult to investigate this alone. The Countess had dealt with much bigger troubles, so Looney was sure she could help. That's why Looney asked our girl to team up and catch the arsonist. The culprit is bound to return to the scene of the crime, right? In the evening, Fiona crossed her arms and asked doubtfully, is the arsonist really going to show up tonight? Looney was very sure, even willing to change her name if no one showed up. She hoped Serafina felt the same, but Fiona said the Countess was clearly hesitating. Indeed, our protagonist really wanted to go home right now. Nevertheless, she agreed with Looney, thinking there was still a chance. Statistically speaking, the protagonist was surprised when Fiona suddenly fed her dear friend a strawberry. The person who burned this place down probably planned to do it when the mansion was empty. Just as Seraph was about to say something to Lady Felicia, Fiona insisted that she just call her by her first name. The protagonist made a note of that and added that the arsonist would probably shift the blame to Looney, saying she didn't look after the shopping center properly. Seraph was absolutely right, so the Count's daughter began to think about what they should do. Seraph calmly announced that the trap was set. The culprit's goal is to prevent the shopping center from reopening, but since they failed, they're bound to come back. When that happens, we'll have to catch them in the act. Soon, the young women noticed two men approaching the shopping center. One of them took out a match and lit it. Luna threw open the window and started shouting. Fiona didn't hesitate to reach out and cast a spell, shooting out a stream of water that extinguished the fire before it could spread. Realizing they'd been spotted, the two scoundrels fled. Luna cursed under her breath, and Fiona asked if she got a good look at their faces. The noblewoman nodded, saying they were servants of the Marcy family. Serafina suggested pushing for a formal investigation, but Luna knew very well that her father's influence was too great. But the thugs still fell into the trap. Luna had previously bought an aromatic tree that causes a certain uncomfortable reaction when touched. She expected them to come back to set another fire, so she left a little gift on this side of the shop. Even so, Luna felt terrible. She probably just needed some time to process it. But Looney suddenly declared with conviction that she would get revenge on everyone who dared to take what she cherished. Her attitude was so firm that Serafina was even surprised at how quickly she recovered. All right, it was time to go home. But before leaving, Fiona told the Countess she needed to talk to her. Orcus had mentioned that Serafina recommended a white mage to be her apprentice. The protagonist knew this topic would come up sooner or later. People say that one crazy situation is always followed by something even crazier. When the Countess suddenly confessed that she had decided to start dating her brother, Fiona was stunned and completely speechless. Later at Count Mars's mansion, Looney was in tears, shouting that she could never face her friends again. Her parents were shocked. Their daughter had clearly said she was spending the night at a friend's house. At her friend's house, the girl's emotions still hadn't calmed down, and she questioned whether her parents knew what had just happened. Her parents were stunned when their daughter revealed she had been hanging out with Fiona and Serafina at the Felicia family mansion all this time. Then she remembered she had left her notebook at the shop. That thing was her lifeline, containing all the information needed to run the shop. So they all went upstairs to the attic to look for the notebook. The protagonist stepped forward, wanting to tell the story herself, and said they were almost burned alive there. Some scumbags showed up and tried to burn down the shop. Luckily, Lady Felicia was there, so they managed to escape. But the Countess wasn't going to let it go. Serafina ordered all the staff of the mansion to gather, as someone had used something nasty to start the fire. Direct contact with it by hand would cause blisters accompanied by an unbearable itch. So these symptoms should appear on the culprit. Fiona quickly sniffed out the right person. Poor Looney, she was almost killed by her own brother. After all, he was the one who started showing the symptoms. The girl couldn't even imagine her own brother wanting her dead. A smirk appeared on the older brother's lips. He looked at his other brother and said that if that's the case, then he was probably the second one to set a fire. Those harsh words really angered the guy. Count Mars immediately apologized to Lady Felicia and Countess Validus for failing to raise his sons properly. But the protagonist said she found it too strange from the beginning. Why didn't anyone ask if Looney was okay? She was still their daughter and sister. You know, a family member was almost burned alive, and instead of worrying, the family was just shifting blame. The Count immediately apologized to his daughter, reaching for her hand and saying he was scared out of his mind. Looney just pushed her father away. It was the same last time. The girl's shop was almost burned down, and not a single person in the family came to comfort her. Father, mother, brothers, none of them cared at all. You're all the same, Looney cried, collapsing to her knees. Watching her sob, the protagonist wondered if Looney was planning to cut ties with her family for good. Fiona whispered to the Countess not to worry, because Looney was actually happy right now, looking forward to taking everything from them. In this moment, she felt more joy than sadness. That being the case, Serafina told the Count that they needed to review the contract for distributing the divine treasures through his guild. The contract clearly stated that in the event of an accident, the damaged party could request termination, and it also stipulated that damages would be discussed separately. After what the Count's son did, which almost got Serafina killed, it was impossible to pretend they were all on good terms. Count Mars told the Countess to stop talking, that this was going too far. His eyes widened when the Countess started talking to him in that sweet voice. Serafina pointed out that she hadn't even started talking about compensation yet. Count Mars looked quite shocked now, but our girl wanted him to understand her position. I mean, her best friend was almost killed by her own brother. The Count suggested everyone calm down and talk things over. Just then, Looney rushed into the hallway with a suitcase, shouting that she couldn't live here anymore, and her own mother was still blaming her in this situation. The woman tried to explain that she only said that because her daughter had accidentally made a scene in the middle of the night. Luna couldn't understand how her family could do this to her when they knew full well how much she loved that shop. Deep down, she knew her old man was behind it all. The lady assured her family that they would regret this move from now on. Her family had better start praying for forgiveness, because sooner or later they would be on their knees begging her for it. Luna later announced that this wasn't just running away from home, but a complete severing of family ties. The protagonist tried to smile and said that if Luna says so, then so be it. The girl was surprised that the Countess was handling all this alone, but Serafina said she was about to hire an accountant. Fiona walked up to the girls and asked Luna what her plans were now. It turned out she was going to take full control of her shop first. Meanwhile, the protagonist was wondering when her residence had turned into a shelter. Looney was excited, saying she would cut ties with her family and establish her own family and trade guild. Serafina was just innocently caught in the crossfire of someone else's family feud. But Looney was dead set on it. She was going to wipe the Marcy family off the map. Of course, the young lady felt relieved now. But our girl was worried wondering if things would really work out, since her engagement to Sir Iris was tied to the family. That part really bothered her. But Looney was sure their love and engagement would remain strong. If it broke over something so trivial, then Carl wasn't worth much anyway. First, she decided to prove her worth even without the Marcy family's backing, and this plan included Serafina. But our protagonist didn't want to get dragged into someone else's family drama. Nevertheless, Serafina decided to ask what brought them both to her mansion. "Damn it," Looney muttered, blaming herself for being so careless, and showed the Countess the feathers she had found. One of them had stuck to Serafina's back at the tea party, and the other appeared on the Countess's leg on the night of that crazy party at Count Marcy's house. The protagonist shot up and ran to her desk. She was about to break down, wondering why these damn feathers were popping up everywhere, and she knew she had to do something. Later, Orcus came to the estate, and Serafina told him about the strange feathers. The protagonist first noticed a feather at the art gallery. At the time, she didn't think it was necessary to mention it to her business partner, but then it happened again at Fiona's tea party and then at Looney's house. Fiona tried to find out what was going on with a magic scan, but found nothing. There was no dark magic or curse on the feathers. They were just of extremely high quality. Since the Countess was so upset, Fiona suggested burning one of them. The third prince, who had arrived at the manor with Orcus and was currently holding Lala, immediately asked if it burned. The Duke's son asked in confusion what creature they were talking about. They were talking about Lala, who was somehow covered in dirt. The third prince apologized to the Countess and explained that the little rascal had dug up the garden, but its guardian would take responsibility. Fiona promised to fix everything with magic at once, but Serafina replied that it was fine. This situation was actually perfect for them. The protagonist placed the quill next to the dug-up hole and had little Lala take a good bite. Then Serafina asked the third prince what brought him here. Esther took a step closer and replied that he was just bored. But our girl knew that was a load of nonsense. His Highness was definitely holding something back, and she was right. The prince wanted to know if the Countess really intended to make an enemy of Count Mars. Everyone knew the Marcy family was the biggest donor to Esther's brother's political campaign. It seemed the old man had run straight to him to complain, which meant our girl was in big trouble now. This proved that Serafina was now on the first prince's radar. As long as the Empress was healthy, there wouldn't be any major turmoil for now, but currently, the first prince and his supporters were the most powerful people in the empire. Serafina now fully understood why the Cato family had been sending marriage proposals. Lady Damien looked down on the first prince's fiancé, the Marcy family, who tried to burn down their daughter's shop. All of this was somehow related to the first prince. Our girl apologized to His Highness for any trouble caused. Serafina bowed and said she had no intention of making an enemy of the Marcy family. She didn't have the guts, nor did she want to at all. I sincerely hope that's the case. Esther suddenly replied. Looney saw something and screamed in terror, making the protagonist nervous as well. But she had no time to figure out what was happening, as a broad chest suddenly blocked her view. It was Orcus, and you could see the concern in his eyes. He took the Countess's hand and told her to be quiet. The protagonist's eyes widened at being so close to him, and she saw the feathers appear. Orcus was holding them, while the third prince had no idea what was going on. Everyone was stunned because the burn marks on the feathers suddenly disappeared, which seemed completely impossible. How could something like this happen? Both Orcus and Esther were stunned when Countess Validus suddenly broke free, ran to the dirt pit, and started digging with her bare hands. The feather had disappeared here too, like some kind of magic trick. The Duke's son knelt beside Countess Validus and asked with concern if she was all right. But he froze, completely caught off guard, when she called him darling and reminded him they had agreed to pretend to be dating. Seriously right now? The man asked, and Seraph just said they needed to get used to it. The protagonist then reached a trembling hand toward Orcus's chest and asked if she could lean on him. Then the Countess just passed out. This body stamina was so poor that after all that stress, Seraph just fainted. The next day, Count Mars walked into the office and greeted Countess Validus with a brilliant but fake smile. When he said she looked as radiant as ever, the protagonist gave the guest a skeptical look. We look a little haggard, don't we? The protagonist asked with a smirk. She mused aloud that Count Mars must be a bit tired from worrying about his runaway daughter. The man looked flustered and admitted it. Then Serafina asked why he hadn't contacted her even once. Count Mars was ashamed because of a little girl, but the nobleman knew there was nothing he could do about it. Countess Validus had already sworn her allegiance to the Empress. and she was a girl with powerful people watching her back. Considering the first prince was planning something and counting on the Count, he would be completely finished if this contract was torn up. The protagonist handed the Count a trade agreement with a new clause added. The man's eyes widened in surprise because the content was exactly the same. The Count was confused and said that not much had changed since last time. Serafina said she hadn't been feeling well lately and guessed the Count was worried about her condition. The man immediately grabbed the Countess's hand, exclaiming, "It's hard enough to take care of yourself when you're sick." Count Marcy was as considerate as ever, so Serafina asked him to be understanding, even if he was still angry about his children. Of course, the fight between the siblings was quite serious, and the Count felt it was his fault for not keeping a closer eye on things. The protagonist gently stroked the Count's hand and told him not to talk like that. He was a great father, and the Countess had great respect for him. The Count was puzzled. Having grown up with such a respectable father, Serafina would of course respect him. The protagonist smiled and announced that today would be the last time they mentioned that incident. She pointed to the asterisk at the bottom of the contract. According to the agreement, the Duchy of Felicia would take over the guild. The project was co-developed with Duke Felicia as compensation for the suffering Serafina had endured. The protagonist didn't know the Duke's intentions. Perhaps he wanted to give the guild back to Looney, since she was his daughter's best friend. Serafina was sure this condition would shut the nobleman up. As a result, Count Mars signed. A smile appeared on the protagonist's face. "Excellent, Count Mars. I hope everything goes well," said Countess Serafina, looking at the signature. Carl Iris saw his beloved fiancé and broke into a brilliant smile. Looney gazed adoringly at her lover, calling him her one and only silver spark. The man noticed his fiancée looked haggard and immediately asked if she hadn't been eating properly. All this sickeningly sweet affection made the protagonist want to gouge her eyes out. Carl held his bride-to-be tightly, thanked Countess Validus, and admitted he wished he could have arrived sooner, but things had held him up. So he was grateful for Sarah's care of Looney during this time. The protagonist told him not to mention it, as Looney was her best friend. If Carl hadn't pretended not to see Sarah in the library that day, she would never have been here. The guy suddenly requested that the Countess call him by his first name. Sarah sarcastically asked if she should call him Sweetheart or Carl. Carl felt Looney's glare and said that wasn't what he meant. Thanks to the Countess, Carl had a whole new perspective on being a knight and the meaning of service. He walked up to the Countess, bowed, and called her his benefactor. The protagonist grinned and told Carl to call her by her first name too. Luna was excited too. Her boyfriend and her friend were getting along so well. Carl suddenly mentioned that Sir Felicia had asked him to deliver something to Countess Validus. The knight and his fiancée knew very well that Serafina and Orcus weren't dating, so the Countess didn't have to act in front of them. Carl suddenly remembered that the Countess and his beloved fiancée were planning to do business together, so he was naturally curious about what that business was. A moment later, the door was thrown open and a flustered-looking maid rushed into the room. The protagonist was startled when she realized Marin had come to report something about her mother. She had refused, and apparently, the lady had suddenly gone for a walk and something had happened. The little boy was there, crying his heart out, begging the lady to wake up. Today was the first time in a long while that she had opened the door herself, but she hadn't attacked because the lady was terrified of going outside. Serafina's mother came from a poor, minor noble family and was forced to live with a husband who didn't care for her at all. All she ever wanted was a simple, peaceful life. But due to a certain child's mistake, even that dream was shattered. If Serafina had escaped this hell sooner, her mother wouldn't have had to suffer like this. The protagonist walked over to the woman lying in bed and gently touched her hand. She was sure that this woman's daughter longed for the same thing. Serafina felt that this mansion was not helping her recovery and suggested that she leave. She wasn't trying to kick her out, absolutely not, just offering a way that might make her feel better. The woman broke down in tears, admitting that she had always hoped things would eventually get better, but the nightmares kept coming, leaving her unable to breathe. She was now certain that she could no longer live a normal, fulfilling life in this house. For this, the lady was deeply saddened, hoping her only daughter could forgive her. But our girl didn't understand why her mother was apologizing, as none of this was her fault. "You have to live," Serafina said, adding, "You protected me in that horrible place." So now the lady could rest, and she could allow herself to be weak until she felt better. Our girl promised that while her mother was away, she would completely transform the mansion. The woman began to worry about how her child would cope with everything alone, but Serafina told her not to worry because she was no longer by herself. Soon after, our girl told her friends that she planned to start a care business. Although there were some care facilities around, they were completely substandard. Serafina had already spotted a perfect place. There are many abandoned villas nearby, including those of the Marcy, Iris, and Felicia families, so we can definitely make use of those places. Although they are far from the capital, they are still noble villas, so they would be very valuable. But honestly, the protagonist didn't need to worry about that. Serafina was lost in thought when Looney suddenly grabbed her elbow, blurting out that she couldn't believe her business partner was also her friend. Miss Mars only wanted to handle the trade and money aspects, so Serafina would be in charge of cleaning up any potential trouble. Watching the girls chat, Carl showed a warm smile. In such a short time, Serafina had become a true socialite of the Felicia family, as well as a business prodigy. The man had no doubt that joining forces with the Countess of the Validus family was the right decision. Looney's attention was drawn to the expression on her boyfriend's face. He looked a little nervous, so the young woman immediately wanted to know if everything was all right. Carl took his fiancée's hand and said nothing was wrong. Carl changed the subject, asking how she was doing at Countess Validus's place and if she was comfortable there. The girl smiled and confessed that she finally felt alive and could breathe easily, even without Carl and Fionia around. Hearing this, the man replied that his fiancée had truly found a good friend. The protagonist watched them being lovey-dovey again with a hint of disgust. Carl just held his sweetheart tighter, suggesting she accept him too, as he didn't want to leave his little darling. The protagonist couldn't take it anymore and screamed for them both to get out of her sight. Lady Felicia leaned against the doorframe and turned to her son. She told him that she was indeed considering a separation, but Orcus was reserved about her words. He then brought his mother some tea to calm her down. The woman agreed, and as her son placed the cup on the table, she said that his father hadn't changed at all. Orcus simply replied that everyone already knew that. The woman, annoyed by her son's response, declared that the Duke had become completely unreasonable lately. Seeing the doubt on her son's face, the Countess couldn't stand it anymore and blurted out that he was just like his father. Then she asked Orcus if he knew that his father was always talking about Countess Validus. Fionia had also been mentioning the Countess constantly. In fact, the Duchess was also impressed by the young woman's performance at the trial. Now, whenever this woman saw Fionia's hair getting in the way of the knight's training, she had the urge to cut it off. She didn't even realize the Duke would be so conservative about it. In fact, Orcus's father also had long hair when he was young and always wore it down. If it weren't for that portrait that warmed her soul, the Duchess would have beaten her husband half to death long ago. Unlike the Duke, she didn't say she wanted a divorce because he had changed their situation. The woman felt her husband said that out of worry, not dislike. After all, he knew she was suffering from some rather unfriendly stares. It's the same old story. Time passes, and old conventions continue to suffocate everyone. Orcus heard the distinct snip of scissors and whipped around. His mother had suddenly and decisively cut off her beautiful long hair, saying it was a sign of respect. Then she remembered the rumor that her son and Countess Validus were now in a romantic relationship. Now the Duchess had calmed down. She had genuinely thought Orcus would die alone. Besides, he had gone to her himself and even put pressure on Baron Cadio. If you want to keep sucking up to the Crown Prince, you'd better stop now. Tell Orcus that the next time you see him. The Crown Prince's lackey turned around the moment he heard the voice behind him. Duchess Felicia was actually curious about what nerve Baron Cadio had struck to make her son react that way. The man said the Baron had been aggressively proposing to the Countess, which the Duchess immediately deemed a despicable act. Orcus estimated that the Cadio family's gold mine could be mined for 3 more years at most. The Duchess was happy to hear this, as those guys have been a thorn in their side for centuries, going all the way back to their ancestors. If that gold mine runs dry, their primary problem will be minting gold coins, which will cause a huge commotion throughout the empire. Orcus slumped into his chair and began to ponder something deeply. Noticing his mother staring at him, the man looked at her and asked what she was doing. It turned out the Duchess was just admiring how handsome her own child was. Unsurprisingly, Orcus told her to stop talking nonsense and get to the point. The lady dropped her smile and said there was a rumor that Countess Validus had secretly registered a white mage at the Magic Tower. This would give Countess Validus a seat on the Council of Elders. But could she handle those cunning old foxes? In any case, all mages in the Empire are supposed to register at the Magic Tower, so Serafina did the right thing. And that wasn't just any mage, but the Crown Prince's esteemed guest, a white mage. No matter how you look at it, this is a bad omen. Lady Felicia wondered what Her Majesty the Empress thought about this. Apparently, she planned to use the Countess to keep the Crown Prince in check, so it would be best to get His Majesty the Emperor's protection now. The rest depends on the Countess's abilities, Lady Felicia said, turning to her son. What do you think? Orcus replied, we need to scout some good locations for this underground operation. Meanwhile, back at the Imperial Palace, Lily was pacing like a caged animal under immense stress. She was so agitated that her palms were sweating. The blonde girl still couldn't believe she was actually going to enter Miss Fionia's laboratory. Everything was unfolding just as Countess Validus had said. If Lily's intentions were pure, the protagonist had advised her to play dumb and act as if she couldn't use magic. At one point, the girl had the honor of an audience with the Empress herself. She bowed deeply and introduced herself as the white mage everyone had been talking about. The Empress listened quietly as Lily Albiolus, the daughter of a viscount, spoke. Not wanting to waste any time, the Empress decided to test the girl's abilities by cutting her own arm with a sword. Now Lily had to step up and show what she could do to prove that her magic really worked. But the girl just fell to her knees and begged for Her Majesty's forgiveness, saying she was still very bad at controlling her magic. The Empress was confused and asked if the Crown Prince hadn't helped her learn magic. Since Lily was useless, Her Majesty ordered the girl to be taken away. Soon, the young lady was taken to the Magic Tower and told that from now on, Miss Felicia would be in charge of her training. The blonde girl still couldn't believe she was really here. Just then, Fionia entered the room, apologizing for keeping the young lady waiting. Lily turned around, looking at the girl with teary eyes, still unable to believe this was really happening. Then, catching Fionia completely off guard, she threw herself into her arms. When they met, Miss Felicia was sure this wouldn't be a case of so-called love at first sight. Fionia wiped the girl's tears and asked if she was all right. Lily immediately apologized to the noble lady for showing such an unseemly side of herself. The black mage smiled and said it was fine. Miss Albilos confessed that she had read many of Miss Fionia's research papers and books, so now she wanted her autograph. For example, she had read this book on her way to the capital. Fionia smiled, deciding to tell her fan that she had just started a new project. Suddenly, Lily also asked the lady to sign her hand. Fionia was touched by this childlike innocence. The thought even crossed her mind that this blonde girl was actually quite cute. Some time passed, and our girl was very surprised to hear news about the cat. It turned out the little fur ball was already playing with the children in the annex, making itself at home. Serafina had seen it, but didn't realize it was here to stay. Looney showed off 2 hats and asked her friend which one looked better. Serafina preferred the orange one, so Miss Mars decided to pick that one. There's no such thing as a free lunch in this world, so our protagonist promised to deduct the cost of the hat from her friend's salary. But Looney didn't mind. Her skills were worth far more than that small amount anyway. The protagonist agreed. Things she had struggled with for so long, her friend could handle with ease. Looney was extremely talented, better than her brothers in every way, which meant she could have easily become the head of the family. Miss Mars agreed with that sentiment, but she wanted to focus on business, not on managing the family. Though it was a bit late, Looney decided to ask Serafina if she was disturbing her. Not at all, the protagonist replied. So her friend immediately asked her to hire her officially. Serafina had found her a place for trade and given her freedom, while also allowing her to showcase her abilities. That's why the Countess deserves to hire an expert like me, Looney exclaimed. The girls had met and become friends completely by chance at a workshop, and today Looney decided to take Serafina to some cool places. Besides, Miss Mars really wanted to create an incredible story with her friend, to see the world from a different perspective, looking strong but being soft and kind on the inside. Looney exclaimed happily that Serafina was like the whole world to her. The protagonist felt a bit embarrassed and told her friend to stop, as she was getting a little too carried away. Since Looney really wanted a job, Serafina asked her what kind of salary she wanted. Hearing this, a smile appeared on the girl's lips. She squealed with delight, thanking the Countess over and over. Before long, the young women arrived at their destination and saw the dilapidated villa they had been looking for. Looney estimated it would take a year just to fix up the villa and grounds, but she thought the repairs here would take about a week. Now we need to add some furniture, stock up on supplies, and build a road. The protagonist was taken aback when Looney suddenly pulled out a scythe for cutting grass. That you're pretty skilled with that thing, Serafina said in surprise. Her friend reminded her that her fiancé was a knight and she had learned from him. Of course, today was actually the first time she had ever really used it. The moment Serafina touched the door, it collapsed, confirming that this was indeed an old and abandoned villa. The inside wasn't in terrible shape, but it would be best to have an expert inspect it first. We'll have to clean it first, though, and all the windows are gone, so we'll need to replace them soon. Looney collapsed right onto the floor, shouting that she was completely exhausted. Still, after all that effort, the big picture was starting to take shape. Miss Mars was now worried about just one thing. She might have to adjust her entire business direction. Serafina herself knew that high society was full of terrible people, completely absorbed in their own vanity. The protagonist suggested a getaway from the world concept, so that people who were having a hard time at home could come here. Her friend loved the idea, so she immediately started making a step-by-step plan to make it happen. First, they needed to secure the nearby forest trails and place some benches for people to enjoy the scenery. Also, there's a lake nearby where they could build pedal boats, the kind you sit in and pedal to move forward. Looney liked her friend's idea, but the blueprint was super weird, looking like a deformed duck. The girl got distracted, so the protagonist muttered that she would reconsider hiring her later. Yes, that was just a joke, but now Looney was breaking out in a cold sweat about going over budget. The protagonist thought it was fine and just suggested they increase the budget. She was completely unbothered by it, but Looney saw it differently. People would usually say that someone like that has no real skill and just throws money around, and that kind of business would never succeed. This project was a great opportunity to show the strength of Validus, so we can't keep relying on our special advantages. For some reason, Serafina suddenly thought of Orcus, who had said the Countess was doing everything exactly right. Looney suggested expanding the business by selling and renting out the boats, as it would be a waste to just leave them here. So she suggested they go back and start looking for investors. The protagonist touched her friend's shoulder and said with a smile that they should reconsider the contract. We need to hire a dedicated accountant, but Looney can be my assistant. Serafina was giving her friend a chance to stay by her side, work on the business she loved, and be supported in the process. Words couldn't describe how long Looney had waited for this moment. Miss Mars kissed the Countess's hand, saying that only she could bring out her full potential. At first, our girl had to do everything alone, relying only on herself, but then people started appearing out of nowhere to help her. Serafina reminded herself for the umpteenth time that she couldn't get too attached to people because it would hurt later. With that thought, our protagonist noticed her friend's worried face, and then everything went black. The first thing Serafina saw when she woke up was her friend's anxious face. Looney explained that the Countess was probably just overtired, which is why she suddenly fainted, scaring her half to death. And the young lady went on and on about how on their way back, another feather had gotten stuck in the carriage window frame. Looney had saved it in a jar, but since Fionia said it was nothing serious, there was nothing to worry about. Just then, there was a knock on the door, asking for the Countess's permission to enter. Seeing Orcus, Serafina immediately called him by a cute nickname, but the man told her to only call him that when others were present. But the protagonist explained that if they kept doing that, they would look like an even more loving couple anyway. Orcus apologized to the Countess for his sudden visit. "It's all right, darling," the protagonist replied. The man hesitated for a moment, then explained that he hadn't just come to visit, but to deliver something. As Serafina had said, his family had bought Miss Looney's commercial street today, and the receipt should be in the documents. The protagonist promised to deduct the amount from Looney's salary, so the young lady started begging pitifully for a gift for the first employee. Serafina only promised to do so on the 100th work anniversary. In addition, the heroine received an invitation from the Council of Elders, where the Empire's powerful nobles gathered to discuss matters. That was where all the major conflicts in the original story took place. so our girl obviously couldn't go, unless Serafina got a recommendation from the Empress, which meant she would automatically join the council for life. Orcus said his father would contact the Countess soon because he wanted them to attend the first meeting together. The protagonist thought to herself that, generally speaking, if the Duke was present, there shouldn't be any major problems. She wondered aloud if the Crown Prince would be there too. Orcus confirmed her suspicion, as the Crown Prince was in fact also a member of the Council of Elders. Serafina just felt that at this rate, the uprising that was supposed to happen in the story wasn't far off. As soon as the protagonist was alone, she collapsed onto the bed. She was exhausted, and the Empress's recommendation had forced her to join, so there was nothing she could do. She filled out the documents and paid the fee. It turned out the meeting was in 2 weeks. What's done is done, and she had to go with the flow, so the protagonist made a decision about what she could handle. Soon, Serafina bought back the commercial building that the Felicia family had seized to ruin Count Mars. Then she signed a formal contract with Looney, making her secretary and putting her in charge of managing the building. Time flew by, and in the blink of an eye, the resort villa was repaired. The day had come for the elder Countess Validus to depart. Serafina was worried and reminded her mother not to force herself, but the lady insisted on walking on her own 2 feet. The protagonist could only watch her mother, who was trembling like a leaf. Serafina couldn't watch any longer, so she knelt on one knee and asked the lady to lean on her back. Her mother no longer resisted and agreed. But the moment the protagonist stood up, she lost her balance and started to fall. Both of them fell to the floor, and Serafina immediately assured everyone around them that she was fine. But hey, at least now they could finally leave that room. The lady's eyes widened in shock. She couldn't believe she had actually done it. Now it really looks like someone lives here, the protagonist said with a smile, trying to cheer her mother up. Tears of joy welled up in Lady Validus's eyes. The protagonist returned a warm smile, then hugged her and whispered in her ear that everything was all right now, and her mother would never have to be afraid of nightmares again. The heroines managed to stumble out of the room, but it wasn't that simple, because getting out of the house was another bigger problem. The protagonist began to worry that she was pushing her mother too hard and that she was under a lot of stress now. But the lady grabbed her only daughter's hand and told her not to worry, saying she was actually fine. She just asked Serafina to hold her hand tighter. When a person decides to bravely face all difficulties and move forward, instead of drowning in deep nightmares, only at that moment does one truly begin to live. Lady Validus opened her arms, realizing she really felt like she was breathing freely. Just then, the woman turned her head at the sound of a small child's voice. A little girl ran up to her, grabbing her skirt with tears in her eyes, asking when the teacher would be back. The lady couldn't give a definite answer, so she asked the little one to write her a letter using the words she had learned. Serafina's mother stroked the girl's head and promised she would definitely write back. The weather today was perfect for a road trip. The Felicia family cherished its friendship with the Validus family, so the Order of Knights decided to escort the lady to her destination. The lady said they shouldn't have gone to so much trouble, but Orcus replied that he couldn't let his dear mother travel alone like this. The guy wanted to add that it was all for his girl, but his personality wouldn't let him say it. But this was enough to surprise Miss Validus, so Serafina grabbed Orcus's arm and said they were really dating. In Carl's warm embrace, Looney whispered that she had never seen a more emotionless couple. Before her mother got into the carriage, the protagonist called out to her. She handed her some sacred treasures and told her to bury them in a circle around the foundation of the manor walls when she arrived, for protection. Then she gave her mother a necklace, putting it around her neck and telling her to always wear it. This gift made Miss Validus really happy. She hugged her daughter tightly, who reminded her that as soon as she got there, Mom would be busy with work, taking walks, tending to the garden, planning the next day's schedule, and reading the letters she received before bed. When Serafina and the children came to visit, she had to greet them in her best condition. Lady Validus promised to wait for her guests, and made the boy promise he would bring all his siblings. The protagonist gently touched her mother's face and told her to take care of herself. The woman did the same and promised she absolutely would. Watching the carriage drive away, Orcus said he couldn't let his beloved mother embark on this journey alone, to which Serafina just replied that he had no acting skills at all. The protagonist touched his shoulder to thank him. She sincerely hoped Orcus wasn't mad at her. When Lord Orcus called her name so gently, the protagonist froze, her cheeks turning red. The guy smirked and started teasing the Countess. It was Serafina who said they needed to practice these things, so they would become second nature. Then a smile appeared on Orcus's face, and he promised the Countess that everything would be all right for her. "It will be," Serafina replied, taking his hand. The protagonist added that their matter would surely be resolved smoothly as well. Orcus agreed, and our heroes returned to the manor together. The next day, at the estate of Marquis Casting, Miss Batissa Casting sincerely thanked the Countess for accepting her sudden invitation. Serafina thanked her in return and asked where the others were. It turned out the tea party wouldn't start for another hour. But Miss Batissa wanted to see the Countess first, saying they had something to talk about. The protagonist remembered this young lady had mentioned someone was watching her, so she guessed this was the reason. The theory was confirmed. Starting a few months ago, some guy had been sending Miss Batissa flowers and letters, begging to meet her. But Batissa wasn't ready to settle down, and receiving gifts from a complete stranger was a bit creepy. Her parents were terrified by the whole thing, so they told her to throw away everything she received. Then one day, while she was walking in the square, someone suddenly appeared in front of Batissa. The young lady froze, completely stunned by the bouquet of flowers held out to her. She looked up and realized the person standing there was the guy who had been pursuing her. He introduced himself as the heir to the county of Bagloss. The protagonist knew immediately that Count Bagloss was a close confidant of the Crown Prince. First Cadio, and now Bagloss. Two of the Crown Prince's followers were on hopeless pursuits of women. The question was, what kind of family was Bagloss? Batissa explained that their family was famous for the tea trade, and even the Marcy Trade Guild couldn't compete with them in that area. The profit they made from tea sales each month far exceeded a noble family's annual income. Looney was furious that the pervert was following the young woman everywhere. The family's wealth was a symbol of power, so of course it was difficult for Batissa to bring it up with her family. But the protagonist still hoped the young lady would at least try. The young noble just nodded in response. So at the tea party, after listening to the Countess, she finally decided to reject him completely. Batissa even gathered all the flowers and gifts she had received from him and burned them, then sprinkled salt on top just in case. But apparently, that didn't solve the problem at all. After that day, she started receiving more letters, which contained insults and even threats against her. This couldn't go unanswered, so Serafina told Miss Casting to report it to her family and everyone else immediately. Batissa confessed that the guy had threatened her, saying things would go badly for her if she told her family. So she was terrified and didn't know what would happen to them next. Serafina placed a hand on the young lady's shoulder and praised her courage, saying she was a very brave person. Since things have escalated to this point, we must do everything we can to make sure he doesn't dare to make a move. In the original story, a law was passed to punish stalkers, and it all started with an attempted murder case. This case involves the daughter of the Senate president, and the current president is none other than Marquis Caston, all of which aligns with the original story's plot. In the original story, the culprit was never caught, but now Count Bagloss is the prime suspect. If Serafina can get this law passed quickly, she can stop the criminal. The problem is, in the original story, this law was passed by the Crown Prince, but the ones who proposed it were his closest confidants, Count Bagloss and Baron Cadio, and at the end of the story, the main villain was the first to escape. Serafina decided to see how the Senate meeting would end and prepared a backup plan just in case. After passing the anti-harassment law, they would also pass another law regarding the issuance of development permits. This is why Count Marcy was so interested in Looney's trade business. The development of the trade district was originally restricted, but the bill allows for the demolition and reconstruction of buildings. Looney's Trade Guild falls within the approved scope, but Duke Felicia opposes this project. Soon, the day of the Senate meeting arrived, and the scale of the whole scene was quite astounding. The heroine froze when she heard a familiar voice call her name. Orcus came over and told her that her father was already waiting inside. Looney started going on, and the heroine immediately told the man that if he really didn't want to put his arm around her, he could at least pretend, because Serafina wasn't very excited about it either. Orcus pulled the young woman closer and kissed her above the cheek, which greatly shocked the heroine. The man smiled and told her that she really needed to learn how to act with a partner. Serafina's face turned bright red. She reminded Orcus that she had just said he could just pretend, to which the male lead calmly replied that the Countess herself had added, "if you really don't want to." While our heroine was trying to mentally compose herself, Looney was completely stunned by the sight before him. Upon reaching the hall, Orcus told them that he and Looney would be sitting behind the main seats, and Serafina would find a seat for herself after going inside. She suddenly saw the Crown Prince and thought, "Thank goodness, I'm out of that succession mess." Suddenly, a familiar voice called out to her again, and Serafina turned her head. Duke Felicia gave the Countess a warm smile and apologized for not being able to keep his promise to accompany her. It was no big deal, as Orcus had already escorted her, and the Duke then remarked that her son was an excellent young man. Serafina glossed over the topic and suggested they take their seats before the meeting began, but the Duke asked her to wait a moment. "It is not yet time to be seated," said Duke Felicia. Behind him, the nobles immediately surrounded the Countess to ask questions as soon as they saw her. Serafina smiled and replied that it was her honor to see everyone here today. Next, they introduced Viscountess Kia to the heroine, and Duke Felicia in turn introduced Countess Validus. Serafina immediately bowed, expressing her respect and joy at making a new acquaintance. But the Viscountess said she was too young, which made the heroine's eyes widen in surprise. Serafina noticed that the Viscountess showed no respect and just looked at her with a frown. As soon as the noblewoman left, the heroine asked herself if she had done something wrong, but the Duke said Serafina had done well. The Viscountess likes people who are very methodical. The heroine confessed that she was just afraid of messing up in front of her. Afterward, it was announced to everyone that the meeting was about to begin and to please be seated. The Duke placed a hand on the girl's shoulder and told her not to worry, because she wouldn't even have a chance to mess up. The Countess had better brace herself for the trouble ahead. Serafina had thought this Senate meeting would be full of class and dignity, but my God, she was wrong. There wasn't a shred of dignity here, and the girl had no idea what they were thinking, throwing her into this madhouse. While the mob screamed, trying to drown each other out, those in power were playing mind games for profit. Given the increasing number of reported incidents, we cannot stand idly by, Duke Felicia announced. The Crown Prince responded, "This bill still needs to be discussed. We cannot yet define it as a punishable offense. Furthermore, we are voting on a new law to rebuild the old square, which is a more pressing issue at the moment." Serafina couldn't help but exclaim, "If that reconstruction bill passes, the poor in the back alleys will be driven out." Just then, a nobleman behind the girl started shouting, asking what on earth they were doing. The Marquis roared that this was a sacred gathering and was furious that the Countess had dared to leave her seat without permission. Serafina forced a smile and politely apologized to the nobleman, explaining that she just wanted to ask a question. Duke Felicia returned the smile, saying that thanks to his future sister-in-law, he had received a huge help. Just then, the Crown Prince interjected that all these people could be relocated to the edge of the commoners' district. However, the security there was absolutely terrible, and sending the poor there would turn the area into a complete hotbed of crime. In the past few months, the volume of transactions in the Square District has surged. I'd like to think it's just a coincidence, but the redevelopment areas specified in the bill have all been bought up by a few noble families. The heroine couldn't understand what the author was thinking, making the Crown Prince the hero of the novel. In the original story, it was Trips who passed the anti-stalking bill. The only thing was, the real reason was that the Crown Prince understood how serious the situation was and used it to boost his own reputation. Since Countess Validus was also a member of the Senate, Baron Cadio suggested she share her thoughts. It was a complete trap. The nobleman was relentless, constantly asking the Countess why she was silent and where her arrogant attitude had gone. The heroine gritted her teeth and thought to herself, to hell with it. Since the Baron had given her such a good opportunity, the girl decided to take it. She asked for everyone's understanding, stating that she was not against the development law, but it was a double-edged sword. If these gentlemen wanted to push this bill, they first needed to investigate the land sale and purchase information. The Countess's statement angered some of those present, who considered it an insult. But, she argued, more than half of those who supported the law had bought and sold land around the same period. And what a coincidence! That area happened to be right within the scope of their bill. If this were true, then these nobles colluding during the Senate meeting was nothing short of a scam. If the inspection comes back clean, then we can move on to the second phase of the plan to help the poor. Just then, Serafina was interrupted by the Crown Prince, who declared that she had crossed the line. No matter how many people praised her and called her a blessed god, she could not act like the emperor. Furthermore, the crown prince pointed out that relieving the poor was the job of the temple, for which the nobles donated huge sums of money. The people the countess is worried about are just common criminals and addicts who are eating away at our empire. But Serafina disagreed. These people were also citizens of this country, and with a little help, they could get back on their feet. Since the countess felt so strongly about it, the crown prince suggested she start helping them herself. The heroine accepted His Highness's proposal without hesitation and took on the responsibility. She told the president that it was not too late to discuss the development project after the audit was completed, but the punishment law required an immediate decision. Even at this very moment, people were suffering because of those obsessive stalkers. Hearing this, Baron Cadio jumped up to try and stop the countess, but the heroine exclaimed, "Does someone really have to die for you to understand?" After the meeting, she acted very tough. After it was over, Serafina was practically trembling with fear. Although the process was difficult, the bill was finally passed. However, there was another special meeting in 4 days, all thanks to the heroine. Even though Duke Felicia said everything was going smoothly, it didn't mean our heroes could let their guard down. Orcus brought the latest records of property transactions in the square area. Count Marcy and Bagloss had acquired the most properties. We cannot ignore the profits the Bagloss family made from tea sales. Initially, both the Bagloss and Kia families were in this business, but 4 years ago, the previous Viscount and his children died in an accident. After that incident, an elder who had already retired came back to inherit the title, but he never restarted the business. If you connect all the land they bought, it would be a huge area with residential areas scattered around it. It looks like they are planning to build a large shopping mall. A portion of the profits from this complex might be funneled into the Crown Prince's political schemes. Although it's not confirmed, it's highly likely. Shortly after, a letter arrived at the Validus estate. The sender wanted to talk about the swan boat business. The crazy thing was, the sender was none other than the Senate president. But when they met, he didn't talk business, but instead asked the girls if they knew what had happened to his daughter. And if they did, could they help her? Hearing a sound outside, Batista suddenly pushed open the door, staring at another letter clenched in the heroine's hand. It turned out someone had started causing trouble for Serafina as well. The heroine knew she had to push forward with this, even if it sounded arrogant. She promised the Caston family a safe haven, just in case. If they helped her, Serafina couldn't back down now. She started all this, so she had to see it through to the end. As long as his daughter was safe, the Marquis was willing to do anything. Once things were settled, the heroine asked for all the threatening letters the lady had received. Now Looney and Serafina were to make perfect copies of these letters. The plan was set, and soon Batista was standing in front of a tea house that was closed for the day. Wasting no time, her fiancé appeared with a bouquet of flowers. The girl immediately shouted that she wasn't interested and told him to stop stalking and threatening her. Hearing this, the people around them began to whisper. Batista thought to herself that she would rather die than marry a man like that. Then the young woman ran off and disappeared into the tea house. The guy, furious at being humiliated like that, chased after her, wanting to teach a lesson to the woman who dared to defy him in front of everyone. He grabbed a knife from nearby and followed the lady upstairs, while she was shouting at him to back off and stay away from her. But the guy was relentless and soon cornered Batista. Enraged, he immediately swung the knife at Lady Caston, not realizing her father was right there. Realizing his mistake, the guy tried to explain, but it was no use because besides the Marquis, the room was full of other nobles. Countess Validus was even present. Duchess Felicia quickly subdued the young lord, pinning him to the ground and sitting on him. Countess Validus walked up and told him that she was truly sorry they had to meet under these circumstances. The third prince, who was also present, approached Lady Caston and offered to escort her back to her estate. He mentioned that he was a friend of Countess Sarah. The girl smiled and followed the prince. Now is the perfect time to meet Mr. Bagloss's parents, Duchess Felicia said, glaring at him.